Welcome to Leadership Matters, a podcast from the Bailey Group. I'm your host, Kaylee Thomsen, president of and partner at the Bailey Group, where we believe better leaders create healthier workplace environments, healthier humans, and a better world. On this show, we explore real stories, practical insights, and honest conversations to help you lead yourself and others better. Thanks for joining us. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Leadership Matters. I'm your host, Kaylee Thomsen, and today I'm joined by Julian Scadden. Julian is president and CEO of Nexstar Network, and Nexstar Network is on a mission to help the world's best trade people become the world's best business people. Julian, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for sharing our mission. That's what we're here to do.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's such a powerful mission.
Thank you. It is. I love the Simon Sinek thinking that you should have a cause so just, meaning your mission, that you can wake up every day, advance towards it, but you can live your whole life and never achieve it. And that's how I think your mission statement really, it should be aspirational, inspirational, all those things. So every day, yes, there's another tradesperson that we want to help become a great business person. And I know that I will time out, I will walk away before it can never fully be achieved. Yeah. But yet there's still so much excitement going forward every day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so thank you.
So I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey to this wonderful role of leading an organization who's having so much impact.
Yeah. Well, I'm very fortunate in that I started as an apprentice, a plumber. So I started in the trades. I worked for varying degrees of businesses, from corporations to mom and pops. I worked at locations that were members of Nexstar, and I noticed how the culture was different. So early on, and I've been around the residential trades really since high school. And so I saw the different styles, the different, cultures of business in the residential services. But when I had the opportunity or the conviction to start my own business, from what I had experienced culturally and value-wise from Nexstar, I felt if I could be a Nexstar member, I could start my own business. So relocated to a new city, started a business, partnered with someone, but started a business where I had the sole responsibility for the residential side. And with Nexstar helping me, grew the business, exited the business. And guess what I wanted to do? I wanted to be an employee at Nexstar. And all I wanted to be was a coach. Wow. So we have coaches on staff, started as a coach. The business was growing. The person who was the CEO, who was actually my business coach at the time when I was a member, he was my business coach. He was the CEO. So when I exited and told him I wanted to be a coach, sure, come join. We have a spot for you. Well, the very wise operator and leader that he is, he knew the business was growing. Pretty soon he needed someone to help lead in the training department. So then I shifted departments, helped that grow. He knew I knew how to grow businesses. So I became the VP, serving him for years. Business is growing. And one day at my annual review, in a very direct way, he just said, "Hey, have you ever thought about being the CEO at Nexstar?" And I hadn't. I hadn't thought about being the VP, and there I was. And I said, "I don't know." And he said, "Well, if you want to, you'll probably want to put your hat in the ring." I told the board, this is my last year. And that's how I found out.
Oh my God.
So I had this moment, and I'm sitting there thinking, I love what I do. I love this organization. I hadn't ever considered being a CEO of an organization like this. Well, either I'm going to get a new boss, or I could put my hat in the ring. So I did.
Wow.
And fortunately, I was selected, and I've been in this role for approaching 6 years now.
What were some of your emotions you were feeling in that season? First, when the possibility of a CEO title became on your radar, and then as you're sort of grappling with, is this something I want or not?
Perfectly read back, because there is the emotion of excitement. Wow, I feel honored. I feel privileged. This is my mentor. And he's the type of guy that would not say that if he didn't think I had the ilk. But he said, if you're serious, throw your hat in the ring. Yeah. He said, I will tell them that I recommend you, but I won't politic for you. I won't do any more than that.
Wow.
But I'll tell them that they should give you a serious interview. He's just that type of guy.
Yeah.
So, but from him, that's high praise.
Oh, absolutely.
So I go, oh my gosh, this is good. This is exciting. And then I start to think, because as a family, we relocated here from Atlanta, only for Nexstar. But at that point, I'd been here about 7, 8 years. And so you have those types of decisions that you need to think about, those principles and those values. Because if I accept this role, if I'm chosen and I accept it, traditionally you can think, or I think a CEO can serve anywhere from 5 to 10 years and be effective. So yeah, there was the excitement, there was the honor, but there was also time out. There's more people than me involved in this decision.
Yeah.
And so I had to have, all those sobering moments as well as enjoying the exciting moments.
Yeah.
Yes.
What hesitations did you have, if any?
It was really the commitment to remaining in Minnesota.
Mm.
Minnesota's been great to us, but it's not our home state. We don't have family. We don't have deep cultural connections. Beyond that, nothing. I love the organization. I believed I was ready for the opportunity, even though I knew I didn't know everything.
Yeah.
That was it. That was it.
There was a real confidence in you knowing that you could figure it out, it sounds like.
For sure. Yeah. There's one of the more helpful elements of feedback I received from somebody I deeply, deeply respect and appreciate. And he's very soft spoken, very slow to correct, just a beautiful salt of the earth gentleman right here from the Midwest. And I want to frame that because that's why this feedback meant so much to me. One day we were giving feedback on our character types. We were doing one of these assessments, and we were talking about our strengths and how your strengths can have shadow weaknesses. And out of everyone, I expected feedback from others and it was well received. But boy, oh boy, from him, he nailed me right between the eyes. He said, Julian, I want you to know that you're one of the most confident people I've ever met. Yeah, thank you. He said, anything you believe you can do it. And I've seen you do it. Yeah. And then he says, Julian, I just want to warn you that because of your confidence and because of your passion around these topics, I know that people will follow you. So I want to advise you, please, 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 when you feel that confident, when you feel that passionate that I've seen on display, check in with some multiple perspectives. He said, Julian, because once you get started, I know there's no stopping you. And I just want to make sure you don't go in a direction that could harm you or the organization. And boy, I took it to heart. I really did. And it's not that I was reckless or thoughtless, but it was the right thing at the right time from the right person. Because confidence is not something that I lack. But also, I will offer to this day the reason why I'm hyper confident. Number one is my faith. I do believe that. And I won't get into specifics of any belief or sect of what I call faith, but I will say that. I've seen so much of my life that has led me to have a deeper confidence that I will call faith beyond ego. So it's not egotistical confidence. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. Actually, let me check that. But in general, I'd like to believe that it's more of a faith and a belief that I have on a deeper level. But boy, oh boy, seeking wise counsel before you make decisions, seeking multiple perspectives. And here's what confused a lot of people. I'm going to mix two things together, and I promise I'll pause. My predecessor, and it was a smaller organization, sought counsel of few and made quick decisions. So when I took over, especially with the advice that I had been given, and my natural instinct is different. I'll ask it, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And that's very natural for me, which I think also compounds that confidence. And the person who gave me that advice, I don't know if he was as aware that I do that as much as I do. And then I take off full speed. But when I took over in the role of CEO, we went from a leader who was kind of closed door decisions. Here's where we're headed. Direct, logical, pragmatic for sure. And then you get a passionate guy like me. And I'm asking a lot of people, what do you think? Hey, what do you think about this? And I realized when I got feedback from other employees, hey, there's a concern from the staff that you may not know what you're doing. Really direct feedback. Great. Tell me why. What's creating that? Well, you keep asking everybody what they think.
Oh.
Well, I thought that's what people liked. Well, they do like it, but they think you don't know what to do. Oh, trust me. I'm not asking you to make the decision by any means, but I'm interested if there's a blind spot or something I don't see. That's my interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes to show the importance of cultural context too.
Right.
Because of what
Right.
they had been used to.
Exactly. But you know me, I've been working here for 7 years. And even with the members that we serve, my teammates, the partnerships that we have, another lesson I learned as you move into more senior leadership positions, consider that folks will look at you differently with different titles. And that was bizarre to me. I was at an event once with a member that I had coached when I was on the coaching team. And I had taken over the president CEO role, and we're going to lunch. He said, I want to sit next to the president. And I thought he was joking. Oh, hey, come on over here. Yeah. And he just kept saying it. And then I realized he was serious. And I started to realize a little bit slower than I should have, folks really do look at you differently. And I even said something to him like, come on, man, you know me. I've been out to your shop. I know your family. I know where the bodies are hidden. We're all good. Yeah, I know. I want to sit by you. So, there's this perception shift and responsibility when you take on leading an organization versus being a role player at any level.
Now, you took over for employee number one.
Yes.
Previous CEO of, was it 25 years?
Correct.
Nexstar?
Yes.
Talk to us about that experience, Julian.
Yeah. So there's the difference in personality, difference in communication styles, and then the difference in legacy. Employee number one, the first CEO, really had an ownership perspective of the business, and I appreciated that. I've realized to some degree I have that too. But after my first year, which was pretty bumpy, as an example, I went into our first board meeting. I showcased a business model and a business plan that would help us double the size of the organization by revenue, moderate employee count, and without adding one new customer.
Mm.
Wow, this is exciting, right? Boy, their heads were spinning. I think that was my first board meeting. I was proud. I was excited. I wanted them to see the aggressive person they had hired. So things like that were cause for pause. And my first year was pretty rough, at least in the boardroom,
Mm.
because I was moving so quickly. And again, I felt I've been here for 7 years. You know me. You said you wanted aggressive. You said. Well, at the end of that first year, another mentor that I was chatting with, and this guy's been around the block. He served as CEO in many, many places. And we hadn't talked in a while. And he said, Julian, tell me how year one went. Man, it was rough. I just told him it was rough, man. It's been hard. Oh, why? Tell me what happened. I gave him a few examples and he laughs, this belly laugh. Just, oh my God, it annoyed me a little bit. I didn't say anything that funny. And he said, didn't they tell you rule number one when you took over? Obviously not, Tracy. What's rule number one? Don't do anything. And I knew what he meant. He didn't mean don't do anything, but when I looked back, I realized I broke every rule. I showed up in the first board meeting with Change for All. I showed up at our staff day, reworked everything. I showed them a new org chart of the beautiful future in 5 years where we're going to be. So there's something to say about maintaining cruise control and staying in the lane in year one, but also finding where and when to put your signature on it and how to introduce yourself. So I would just offer for anyone stepping into a new role, I definitely wouldn't say stay stagnant.
Yeah.
But I'll also steal a phrase from one of my mentors. He said, learn why the fence was put up before you knock it down.
So good.
Yeah. And I wasn't knocking down fences, but I think verbally and theoretically and presentation-wise, I was.
Yeah.
And I hadn't considered that.
It's such a delicate balance, and you don't know what you don't know. And
Right.
having not been in that seat before,
Exactly.
it's so difficult
Yeah.
because you need to take the time to get to know the business even better from a different role than what you were previously sitting
Well
in.
said.
And also have a vision for that future without having plans to knock down those fences too early.
Yes. Well said.
But it is a delicate balance.
And there's a lot of self-righteousness, which I will own right now. Well, why'd you hire me?
Mm-hmm.
When I would get the pushback or get some questions, well, why'd you hire me?
Sure.
I am the same person that interviewed, and it was a long interview process.
Yeah.
I am the same person who behaved like this as a coach, trainer, and the VP. And then what I had to mature and learn was that now I'm a representative of the organization, and there are parts of me that are critical to our success. And there are parts of me that now I have to make the choice, leading a member-owned organization, of how I show up. And the only other businesses I had owned were my own, with no one to answer to, and not the responsibility of the image of an organization. And so these things I take seriously. And I took them seriously from the beginning, but it took me time to understand how to embody some of the behaviors and things that are expected of this role.
Yeah.
And it's been a great learning experience. I want you to know that too. Yeah.
What were the earlier experiences that really prepared you for the bumpiness of that first year and your resilience through all of that?
I really think it is similarly to strengths having shadow weaknesses. I had a pretty turbulent childhood, pretty rough upbringing relative to the American state of mind. A single parent, worked her tail off to take care of us, one sibling, latchkey kid, in a pretty rough neighborhood, and saw a lot as a result. So when it comes to business, it doesn't bother me. I make quick decisions. There's no lives on the line. And at times, that's why I say it's a shadow weakness. The quick decisions or the decisiveness at times can come across as cold. The other thing that helped me with resilience in a role player position that was a weakness in a leadership position was my ability to spot problems. You present something, I can pick it apart. I can tell you exactly why it didn't work. Well, when you do that from my seat, it appears that I'm diminishing you or I don't believe in you. So again, that same strength or skill set as an individual contributor, how you approach it or how you deliver it in a different seat. So those things prepared me, but then it was the finesse of how you relay it or how you articulate it and communicate it through the organization. But, there was really I can tell you this, in 13 years in the organization, there were probably 3 times I considered leaving. And I don't know anybody else who's worked somewhere 13 years who's only thought about 3 times, because I know that there's bumps. I know that there's rough roads. And I honestly want to shout out and honor my teammates as well as the leadership. It's because we always had direct conversations. We have one of our guiding principles is see it, say it directly and with respect. And I can tell you the folks that I choose to surround myself with honor that. And so I don't care how uncomfortable the conversation is. I love it. And I had an employee challenge me on that once, in a staff meeting. Julian, you always say that you love them. Is that true? And I laughed. And I said, and I knew I said, Nick, remember 6 months ago when you came into my office with topic A and you know what I'm talking about? He goes, yeah. And he said, yeah, Julian, you were beautiful. You sat there, you listened to me. I knew you disagreed and you sat there for the whole thing. I said, Nick, that was the most uncomfortable 20 minutes of my life. Do you know the breathing exercises I had to call on and all the things that I've learned in that moment to not raise my voice, to not argue, to not flip a table and tell you, you are blind, man. From his perspective, he was right. But boy, he was self-righteous too. But my ability to stay present to what he was presenting created the space where he would stay present for the perspectives that I needed him to hear, to understand why we were making the decisions that we made. And he did, and we would. So yes, just like in any relationship, I love the difficult conversations. In the moment, I don't. I'm sweaty. I want to run. I want to yell. I want to scream. I want to cry. I want to quit. I do, but I won't because I'm committed to the relationship. In the moment, it stinks. And so one of the tactics that I used early on, because my natural style is to avoid conflict, but I knew I couldn't ascend in business if I did not take on the tough conversations. So instead of burying it and waiting and hoping, now when I get that physiological response, I run towards it. And you have to be careful when you run toward it because that's the point of not to be aggressive, not to point fingers. So when I say run toward it, all it means is let's have the conversation as quick as we can. And just getting in the room, having the conversation and having other tactics. And I've mentioned things like breathing exercises, centering your feet on the ground. One of the things that worked for me really well is this idea of having a string from your belly button to the center of the earth that just holds you connected. And then just watching your breathing. And literally, it might sound silly, but literally having to remember those things in what is just a conversation. It's just a business, but noticing how my emotions and everything primal in me wanting to just end it right now in any way I can. Thanks for letting me go on there.
No, I think that was so beautifully said. And one of the things it reminded me of is often those that excel are those that are able to tolerate discomfort. And your story illustrates that beautifully.
You made me think of like trail runners, marathon runners, these 100-mile runners. And I just think about it. It's like the ability to endure. We had a conversation at our staff meeting recently, and we have a new initiative that we're rolling out. And one of the employees, from their perspective, very thoughtfully said, but what happens if we fail? And I think about that and it bothers me. And one of the folks on our team that is a marathon runner beautifully stepped up and chimed in. And she said, no, there's something that I learned, when I hit the whatever 20th mile. I don't know, because I'm not a marathon. Don't invite me. I'm not going.
It is the 20th mile. I will tell you.
I'm
That's
not
the wall.
going. But she said, I learned this trick, and we had the switch of, I can't finish. I hope I can finish, to what will I do when I finish? And she challenged her teammate and said, and these are peers. She said, so I would just encourage you, every time you think about what if we fail, ask yourself, when we win? What will happen when we win? What will my job look like when we win? When the members love this, what will life look like? And she said, so I just say, what will I do when I finish? What will I do? And it doesn't make the pain any less, and it doesn't make the miles any easier, but I can actually tell you somehow it does. It makes it more tolerable. So it is, our self-talk is so important. I don't know if you want to go there, but boy, we can be harsh with ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of it.
I would love to hear about some of the beliefs that you had earlier on in your life and what you had to let go of as you continued to grow and evolve.
Well, with what I shared environmentally of my upbringing, I did believe, so I'm a high school dropout. My father came back into my life later. I knew that he was a labor worker for the city. My mother took any job that she can, though she was college educated. And so I had this unique dynamic of living in the neighborhood I lived in and being raised as I was. We weren't allowed to have an accent, the accent of the neighborhood, the vernacular, which definitely created its own level of hazing when I was outside.
Sure.
And, there's a name for everything, a title for everything. Naturally, I was a reader, so that helped me too. So I have this vocabulary, I have this belief. But environmentally, when I look around at the men in my neighborhood, you worked hard, you broke your back, You got what money you can, and there's nobody coming to help you. And so I believed that for many years. And that's why I started in the trades as an apprentice, as a ditch digger, as, I will have to trade my labor for a fair day's wage. And it was with the help of some mentors and some people just going out on a leap of faith with me, giving me, what would I say, new experiences or new responsibilities. And they'd say, man, you're a smart kid. I would hear things like that. Man, you're a sharp kid. Come over here and look at this and learn. And I never believed in it. Teachers always told me I was dumb. I learned from the neighborhood that I didn't have much value, whether it was my ethnicity or my upbringing or my neighborhood or my education. And then people would say things like, no, you're a smart kid. I see it in you. I see it. And I am. I'm an avid learner. I'm excited to learn, but I've been beat down. So yes, I had to release things like nobody's coming to help you. Nobody cares about you. Because guess what? Whatever you believe is real and it'll become true. So it took me like micro steps to learn that I can stretch into discomfort for greatness. But yeah, I had to release things like believing I'm not good enough, I'm not educated enough, I don't come from the right background, the right family name, the right side of town. And, those things are true in some settings, and that's okay, but they're not universally true.
And they don't define you.
Well, that part for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you define you.
Yeah.
Yes.
What were some early wins as you talk about these baby steps, which is so relatable. We don't go overnight into a
Yeah.
totally different person, but what were some of the early wins that started to question some of those beliefs for you?
Yeah, I think some of the early wins in business were I was pulled from the field, actually working in the field, and because I could speak articulately, this guy said, "You're a smart kid. Come in here and answer the phones." And I was answering the phones, but I was doing discretionary, picking up extra duties. So then he gave me some more duties, and then he gave me some more duties, and then I did what I thought was his job, and I started to build some resentment. Run this report, run that report, circle this number, circle that number. Oh, I'm just doing his work now. What I didn't know is the business had been acquired. And when we had some corporate folks come join us for an audit of every position, you would go into this room with two individuals. They would ask you what you do. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And what else? And what else? And what else? And the more I told them, I'd watch them look at each other, I just knew I was going to get fired. And then fast forward a few weeks later, the gentleman who had been giving his reports to run, big gregarious loudmouth guy, 6'6", loud. Hey, boy, come in here. Okay. I got work to do, but I go in his office. Yes, sir. So guess who you're looking at? Who am I looking at? I'm looking at Ed. Who am I looking at, Ed? The new GM, or the new ops manager. I forget, but it was a promotion. Great. I'm still thinking, I got work to do. What do you want? He said, guess who you're going to see next time you look in the mirror? I don't know, myself. What is your? No, you're the new office manager. What? It's kind of like in the movies when you hear a gun go off and then they can't hear anything else after that, just that ring. It was one of those moments. And he was still talking. There's others for, a few, I was kind of walking around. So it was little indicators like that. When I joined Nexstar as an employee, and from that point now, I built myself up as a business owner and this independent entrepreneur. But now I'm joining a team of superstars. They're the gold standard in our industry. And boy, I'm around some superstars. And it took me about 3 to 4 years before I acknowledged in public that I had not finished high school or gone to college. I was always the last to speak. People would always ask my opinion, though, because of that, because of my vocabulary. Oh, you're so smart. And I would read. And I'll say this, too, to folks who maybe have dropped out or consider dropping out, or if you're a younger person watching this, the ethic, the work ethic that is in the educational system, whether you agree with the way that it's developed and implemented to you, you're either going to do the work now or later. So I can tell this story about how I'm a dropout and these other things, but please realize the self-work that I did and had to do to be where I'm at today, off the books, with no curriculum, with no what's next, is the work that you have to do to continue to pour into and develop yourself. And so because of that, folks just thought I was so smart. And I hated this question. What school did you go to? And it still happens to this day. To this day, right? We'll be in social settings. You'll be out networking. You'll be at dinner. Oh, what college did you go to? What school did you go to? Yeah. I'm a plumber. And I love just saying that. I'm a plumber. And some people just walk away when I say that. And that's okay. But these are the things that help transfer some belief.
Yeah. Incredible.
Oh, I'm sorry. But my point that I wanted to make in sharing a little bit more about my background once I started to work at Nexstar, the very first time I shared my story was from main stage at our annual meeting, 1,000 people in the room. And I didn't know if it was career suicide. But I felt so passionate at that point. I was doing it because the whole theme of that meeting was the future doesn't look like what you think it does. And as one of our guests, we have this 4'11" dynamo of a woman. She's from Trinidad, Tobago, 4'11", Brooklyn. She's a plumber. And you see this little Caribbean firecracker come in, and we say, when you think of recruiting technicians, what do you see? And we put up images of, a white male in khakis and a polo shirt, clean shaven. And then we started to show these high performers that look nothing like what you think. So I was doing the close for the event.
Wow.
I said, I'm going to tell my story. And here's what I learned. Here's the point. And I want you all to get this too. Here's the point. What I realized and don't tell your story till you're ready. That's another thing that I learned in keynoting. It's not a place for therapy, okay? And don't tell the parts that you're not ready to share until you're ready. But I was ready. I was up for the challenge. But here's the beautiful part. Here's the payoff. When I did, the number of people that approached me, Julian, I'm going to drop out too. People that I looked at with great success, hey, Julian, I'm going to drop out too. Told story of some addiction in my family that, created part of my story. Julian, I was an addict for a year. And you look at these people and you never know. I look at you today, you've got it going on. Check you out, right? There's going to be nothing wrong in your world. I'm sure you had a perfect upbringing. But the scars that we put beneath our long sleeves, when you create the space for people to share and connect, it was actually a multiplier for connectivity. And not all the time. You don't throw it out all the time. And you don't use it as bait. It has to be the right moment, the right topic for a reason. But those are some of the things that helped along the way.
That's so real. And also reminds me of, in a world that's so disconnected and so lonely. I mean, we're more connected digitally than ever, but truthfully, the real connection, the ability to sit eye to eye and talk to somebody in real time and get real about things, it's just so much more rare. And that's why I feel like it feels so special when it actually happens.
When you gave me the opportunity to see you here in person, I jumped at it. And it's not because the set is great. That's part of it.
The set is great. Let's be clear.
That's part of it. And production quality, I was like, that'll be cool. And your energy and your story. I wanted to be in your presence. And there's something to that, to this day, of just being in presence. We have what we call a flexible environment at our headquarters, meaning that when you need to flex, when you need to be home, we get it and we're supportive, but we want you here. We want you in person. We want the water cooler talk. We want the passing conversation. We want your energy. It's important.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to go back to something you said at the start of our conversation, which was getting exposed to Nexstar Network made you believe that you could start a business if you had Nexstar as a partner.
Yes.
And the power of expanded perspectives and new possibilities.
For sure.
What was it about Nexstar that opened that opportunity for you?
So first, I'm pragmatic and logical. So the first reason was they have all the processes. They have spreadsheets and templates, which are now online tools, but Excel spreadsheets where you can plug in your overhead and figure out your selling price and how to prepare for the next hire. So first, it was logical. I don't want to have to figure these things out myself, and they can show me the way. But what I learned over time is that it was also the network. It was also the multiple perspectives. But first, I just need a template. And this is a reason why many people would join franchises, because they want to understand the operations and they want the blueprint. I want the turnkey business. And I knew that Nexstar had that. Well, I could retain complete ownership, and that's why I wanted it. But what you've uncovered here is beyond that. The community, the people, the tribe, the like minds, and the unlike minds that I could even learn from. I don't want to do it that way, or getting motivated by people who told me I couldn't, shouldn't, or wouldn't make it. Or even worse, in my mind, I appreciate people that tell me directly. I remember one time in Atlanta when I had just sold a business, I was doing some consulting. Nexstar didn't have an opportunity at the time, so I said, I'm going to start my own coaching business. Started a website. I'm going to start consulting until they have a spot for me. This is what I'm going to do. So again, very driven. Now I'm in the Deep South, and I go to a guy calls me up. Hey, I've heard a lot about you. I heard about the business you ran. Oh my gosh, I need help. Sure. And we talk, and I added some value. I'm going to pay you for an engagement. You come down to my office. Let's meet in person. So I go down. I'm in my suit and tie, and honestly, I just cut my hair a couple weeks ago. So being native, I had hair that was very long for a long time, and at times I'd wear it braided. And as you can see, I enjoy a beard at times, and I had it edged up. And so I go down to see him, and my hair was in a braid, and I'm in a full suit, and I'm sitting there. And I'm nice to the receptionist. Just have a seat. She was expecting me. He wasn't expecting who he saw. And so I saw this guy, back in the office, and I figured it had to be him, older white male in his 60s, and he'd look out, and he'd just go back to working. He'd look out, and he'd go back to working. Okay. Then eventually he comes out, Julian? Yes. Oh, come on back. And we're talking, and just the way he's looking at me, he's kind of staring at me. And this is what I respect, and then I'll get back to what I was making the point on, I hope. that I was making a point, but he said, have you ever thought about what you look like? And I'm thinking, I'm in a suit, I shaved, got my tie on.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you realize most of the people that you're consulting are going to look like me. I said, oh, I know. I came up in the industry. Doesn't matter if it's the Deep South or North America. I know. And he goes, did you ever think people might not take you seriously because of how you look? I said, well, that's why I've taken the time to put on a suit. And he said, Julian, you know what I'm saying. I said, I know what you're saying. And I know that's part of it. But I can't control that. I can only control the value that I deliver. And we went on, we had a great relationship and a great conversation. He thought he was being helpful. And in a way, I think he was.
Yeah.
Because from his heart, he was. He was saying, Julian, is there anything that I can do or we can do or you would be willing to do to make it easier or a softer landing? And I said, no, I can't. I can't. All I can do is provide value. So my point is that put me on that tangent was I think the worst people are the ones that I see scowling from a distance and will try to play checkers behind the scenes to block me versus just tell me to my face, I'd rather not work with you. I'd rather not, for whatever reason. Could be my education, could be any reason. That is fine. I love that. It's the manipulation and the politics. For me, I find that more taxing and wearing than the direct hard block.
Yeah.
I can deal with that.
You're very transparent, and I see that you value transparency and authenticity and directness.
Yes.
Where does that come from, Julian?
I don't know. I don't know. Part of it's just got to be innate. Part of it's got to be innate. And I've got to tell you, there are times where it's not well done either. It's not welcomed or well
I haven't witnessed that yet.
So that's what I mean. Well, lights are on here. But so part of it's innate. Part of it is innate. And I don't have time. I think I went through enough as a young person and even as an adult. And there's just times where I would encourage everyone out there to just realize what enough is enough. That the stakes of life are so much larger that there's not time to dilly-dally around and just say how you feel. Find a respectful way to say it. Find a thoughtful way to say it. Find a caring way to say it. Somebody I learned from, he was the director of training when I took over as manager of training, and he would say the most bizarre things to people. We had a participant once, very much overweight, very flush in the face red. And on a break, this is day one. It's a 3-day class, day one, first break. He pulls him to the side and he just says, I'm concerned about you. He said, when's the last time you checked your blood pressure? And the guy said, well, not recently. He said, you show signs of heart issues. He said, I just want to tell you right now that if you have trouble breathing, you have any indications, please tell me. I want to take care of you. And I got to tell you, when you leave class, here's my number. I want you to call me. I want to talk to you. I'm concerned about your health. And I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, like we just met this guy. And he would do stuff. And it was his nature, but he was genuinely caring. So when I asked him about it, he said, Julian, you could say anything to anyone as long as you care. As long as it comes from a place of caring. Now, that's not holistically true. There's still the delivery and there's the follow-up and there's so much more going on around that. But that was a moment in my life where I realized the natural ability and desire that I had to be direct. And at that point, it wasn't well refined. So there was this internal struggle too, where some of you may have strengths that are so innate to you, but it's the delivery that's not landing. Well, investigate the delivery because it may not be the desire itself, which may be very well founded and grounded in something that can elevate you. So it might just be the delivery.
That's so powerful.
Thank you.
You have had, by all accounts, a very successful, impactful career. What's a current challenge that you're grappling with in this season?
The speed of change. When we were a smaller organization, when I started in the organization, 30 people, when I took over around 50, 60, and then rather rapidly, we've exceeded 100 within 18 months. And my old run and gun behaviors, I'll tell you exactly how I say this to the team. Here's what I learned over the past couple of years of our growth. I'm great at growing things. I'm not great at scaling. And in business, there is a tremendous and clear, distinct difference between the two. I kept growing the business while remaining behaviors, reporting lines, selling style, presentation to the member, all the same. It created a lot of noise and tension. And so the challenge for me right now, and the challenge that the organization is experiencing, that while we created growth, now we need to scale. So we need to slow down a little bit. We need to mature in our technology, in our delivery systems, and we're in the midst of that. So I brought in a really great operator. I had to find some external talent. That's something that I realized. I couldn't do it. I couldn't figure out what the problem was. As soon as I had a good idea of what it was, I knew I wasn't the fix. And we had to bring somebody in with different experience. And instantly ran us through a spreadsheet and I said, on the nose, on the nose, on the nose, on the nose. So the current challenge is realizing when growth is unhealthy or toxic. The challenge is realizing who you need to bring along and the time that actual change takes and the scale of change and the time that it takes to bring the team along with you. So it's not a bad challenge. And people may say, it's a challenge of the rich or of luxury. But I'd say this to you, whatever challenge you're facing is real. And if you don't address it, it will get worse. So whatever it is, whatever you label it as, if I don't pause in this moment, and believe me, I've ticked off a lot of people in the organization who are fast like me. No, Julian, you're right. Keep going. The people can't keep up. They just don't know what to do. And I want to hear that. I want to believe that.
Yeah.
It's not true for everyone.
Yeah.
And so how do I navigate the conversations between those who feel like we're going too fast, those who feel like we're going too slow? Julian, you've changed. And I adopted an analogy that I used to use when I was a trainer. So we had 3 days in class, and we have a reoccurring class that folks would come back to. And so somewhere in day one, I would ask folks, have you been through this class before? Show of hands. First timers, hands up. Okay. You've been here before, hands up. Have you seen this class more than 3 times? Hands up. And we get this. And I say, okay, the reason I ask that is this. What I'm going to ask you to do is think of the instructions when in a roller coaster. When you get on a roller coaster, they buckle you in, and they ask you to just remain on the ride, keep your arms and legs, and stay attentive for safety's sake. Some of you, first timers, there are going to be times in this class, or let's relate this back to business. As we make these business changes, there are going to be times where it feels like we're going too fast. All I ask you to do, remain on the ride, and we will keep you safe. People who've seen this before, or people who desire to go faster, you are going to say this is going too slow. All I'm going to offer is remain on the ride, stay focused on the ride, and we're going to keep you safe. There are going to be times when we're going up this hill and it just feels too slow. Tink, 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 tink. You're ready to go on the thrill ride. There's other people who are scared about what's about to be on the other side. All I ask you all, remain on the ride. We will save the instructions to keep you safe, but we will keep you on the tracks and we'll bring you back in one piece, I promise you.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's so good. I've never heard that analogy before, but it's such a great illustration of there's lots of different personality types. There's lots of different strengths, weaknesses, blind spots, all coming together. And how do you align all that individual talent and those individual unique lived experiences and differences to get you all moving together?
We're together. Some are in the front, some are in the back. Some have written this before, some haven't. And most importantly, the importance of framing. Well, you can steal the analogy if you want. Please do. If it applies, use it, change it, whatever. The rule is this. I'm going to give you the rule that I use. The first time I steal something from you, I will give you credit. Kaylee taught me. It's awesome. Second time, it's somebody I know. Third time, it's mine. So that's the rule. But underneath that, though, it is the importance of framing. So while the analogy lands, the communication pattern is have an analogy, have a metaphor that people can relate to and that you keep hearkening back to. Make it the phrase that pays. We're still on the ride. We're still on the ride. Are we going fast now? Are we going slow? Well, we're still on the ride. We're still on the ride.
I know how passionate you are about coaching, given the profound impact it has on your clients and customers.
Yes.
What role has coaching played in your own life as a recipient of coaching, Julian?
Yeah, it's been a bizarre relationship. It's been a bizarre relationship. Love, hate. I value, here's what I learned. Being a coach myself, and I took on some certifications, and there are methodologies and ways to transfer accountability, transfer ownership through the questions you ask, and that's really important. What I will say is, here's an example. There was a gentleman that does like some personal power coaching, I think is what they called it. I'm kind of making the name up here. And this guy probably charges $1,000 an hour. And I have somebody who loves me so much. It was a member that we had coached his business. He had gone into great financial success. He said, Julian, I'm going to give you an hour of time on me with this guy. He's going to change your life. Okay. And so
Praise.
I'm
High
excited.
expectations.
Right. So I'm excited. Right. But I've been a coach and I've seen a lot of coaches. So unfortunately it was virtual and I log in. So I thought, oh, that's a, interesting choice when he was local. So yes, I'm judging him a little bit for sure. I'll own that, but that's an interesting choice. Okay. You can make more money. You can take more calls. Got it. Cool. I'm still here for it. And I log on and I look, and I will share this with you. I'm not somebody who feels like I don't feel compelled to share social cues, meaning I watch people laugh and clap at things that they're great, but I don't feel that desire to, if I just don't feel, great, nice. Oh, it was funny. And I'll do that sometimes and it annoys my friends. No, that was hilarious. And it's just my style. Like it didn't get me in that way.
Yep.
Other things I'm on the floor making an idiot of myself and they go, that wasn't even funny. I can trip over stumble over something here and just giggle, have a good time. Okay, let's get back to the point here though. Coaching. So I log on with this guy and he goes like, Actually, I'll do it here. He literally does this pose. And I don't know if he's frozen. And again, me not feeling the need to uncomfortably giggle or go, hi, so I just stare right back at him. And he goes, you're a 6. We can't start till you're an 8. Oh, that wasn't the answer. That wasn't the answer. So what I'm offering, and again, I just kind of powered through the call, and he just said, your energy's bad. And, he's saying these things. And I go, so for a power coach, that's interesting that you would place that on me.
Yeah.
I said, I am evaluating you. I mean, now you're placing labels on me. So I'm using the language that I know he knows.
Yeah.
He goes, no, we got to get you out of your rut. My point in coaching, that long-winded ramble was to say this. Coaching, in my opinion, it's helpful to have tools as the questions you ask, recognizing the state or the energy level that somebody said, that's great. But notice when you're in the presence of a master, notice when you're in the presence of somebody who's actually volleying with you, and just be there for them.
Yeah.
When somebody's at a 6, telling them they're a 6 isn't helpful. How about you just made eye contact and said, how you doing today?
Yeah.
How you doing? Where would you like to start?
Yeah.
No, you're at a 6 and we can't even start. You're at 8. You're dragging over there, man. And I just started laughing. I said, you're beautiful. You are beautiful, man. He goes, now you're being defensive. I said, that's awesome. What else? Oh, see, you're not going to engage. I said, I'm probably not. You're labeling me and I'm not feeling you. What do you want to do? I said, my friend paid for this and I feel bad. So I start saying things like that. What I think is having a genuine conversation.
Yeah.
And he's trying to coach back to, I can change you, man. What needs changing? Mm-hmm. We're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. So I say all that again to say this. Seeing diverse perspectives, helping people see blind spots is critically important. But to my coaches out there, you're using your tools, you're using your formulas and your methodologies. Stay human, stay present. Because I'm telling you, just looking them in the eye, notice how their breath is changing. That more than any of the tools that you have at your disposal is more important than starting any program or going into any agenda that you have. Be there with them first, then you can apply the tools. And when I find people that do that, I will be open to whatever you have to say to me. But if I think you have an agenda, I'm just a brick wall. It's not good. It's not good.
It's like with anything, there's exceptional tradespeople and there's ones that struggle. There's exceptional coaches and there's ones
fair enough. It's valuable though. Diverse perspectives is what I value. I just find people who call themselves coaches and follow these methodologies sometimes get too rigid. That's it.
Yeah. It's interesting because in my experience, presence is the cornerstone to everything.
Right.
I mean, how do you genuinely connect if you're not really there?
Yeah, let's just start
with someone.
Yeah.
Julian, this has been such a thoughtful conversation. Thank you so much for your insights and perspective and wisdom.
Experiences. How does the saying go that wisdom comes from good decisions, which comes from experience, which comes from bad decisions?
Well said.
I stole it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Appreciate it.
And thank you to our listeners. Join us next week for another episode of Leadership Matters. Thanks for joining us for today's episode of Leadership Matters. If today's episode resonated with you, would you do me a favor and share it with someone you care about? To learn more about the work the Bailey Group is doing in the world, check us out at thebaileygroup.com or follow us over on LinkedIn. We love sharing useful articles, helpful resources, and valuable tools to help you expand your leadership capacity. Like and subscribe, and join us next time for more honest conversations.